What are we doing first?
What are we doing first? We're doing Welcome to Out of the Blank podcast. I'm Robbie, you're Jeff, and Kalee.
I'm Jeff, and you're Kalee.
Are you sure?
Yeah, we are. States 4 on a wonderful podcast.
Did you? Is that your beginning? Or...
Yeah, that is my beginning.
Oh, way to go, Jeff! You like messed up his flow.
Well, that's what I do best.
True.
Look, and I'm glad to be back on your podcast.
I appreciate that. And I want to say a special congratulations to both of you because you guys are now married.
Yeah.
Yeah, she stuck with me forever.
I mean, didn't get to officiate the wedding, but that's fine.
I know. It was one of those like quarantine, really small, itty bitty weddings. But
did you do mask on mask contact?
No.
You know, Robbie, what happens under the mask stays behind the mask.
I'm really happy and excited for you guys. I'm like,
thank you.
Honestly, there's no better pairing than two people that bonded over a podcast and murder and found each other through that.
Well,
yeah, now if you ever murder someone, she's gonna help me now. She has no choice.
I mean,
have you thought about the double killings?
Murder suicide?
No, like more like
oops.
Like Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, like a husband and wife murder scenario.
Wow. He goes straight into like murder suicide, so I know what to expect, I guess.
As long as I get to kill one person, I don't care. I can't say that, FBI listening. I will not kill someone, and you guys will watch.
Anybody that says they haven't thought about it is a liar.
That's true, especially when you have road rage, especially when you're driving.
I mean, I guess that's the thing about learning about all those murderers and how they do it. You just like, you do tend to wonder. Your mind wanders a little bit.
Was it weird doing a COVID wedding?
No, I mean, it was pretty much our immediate family.
Yeah, and also we're really private, not private, but like we like small. We don't like go outside, so it kind of worked out for us anyway. So now we got to do do it. And not invite people and have an excuse not to invite them.
Jeff, what if they listen to this?
Then they kill themselves.
It was a good excuse to kind of like
we only have only
small,
10 people here. Only 10 people. Sorry, like grandma and mom only. Sorry, guys. The brother, all the uncles and aunts. I have a big family. I have like 40 uncles and all this other stuff. So, like maybe 7 of them.
That's like the weirdest thing, though, is that they expect you to have a giant wedding. If I was ever going to get married, which I don't think I ever will, I don't want a big wedding. I want a small one with like friends and family and stuff, just because maybe a couple like immediate friends and family, like people that I talk to every day, not people that I wish happy birthday on Facebook once every like year. It doesn't make sense.
Exactly. Yeah. That's kind of the thing that we were thinking too. It's like, why spend? I mean, people spend crazy amounts of money on a wedding, and that's mostly to like feed people and throw this giant party essentially for everyone else's benefit, when in reality, having a small ceremony it's ideal, because then all the people that are closest to you and have supported you in your relationship are there to celebrate that next chapter in your life.
I like it because it's cheap and I don't like people, so it works for me.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It's a contract with the state, and I feel like you're more on the lines of signing a contract with each other.
Yeah, kind of. I mean,
I hope so. I hope Kalee likes my part in the contract. It's like really push. It's like she gets 8 out of 10 of the good stuff, and I got the 2 out of 10 giving to her. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, she's the better half.
Jeff,
she's the better half.
Shut up.
And I'm just.
Did you do anything different from like an average wedding? Like, instead of doves, did you have like owls or something?
That would have been cool.
I wish.
I think that'd probably be illegal though, considering they're probably not as cheap as doves too.
They probably just
Wait, how much do doves cost? That's interesting.
Probably a lot. It's a symbol of peace, but it doesn't make sense. Why do we throw rice? Like, I know that it's illegal to feed a seagull Tums because it'll make their stomach explode. But like, what about rice and doves? Because rice doesn't even digest properly.
It can actually cause their stomachs to swell. So they actually wanted to ban it in a lot of states. You're not supposed to. They recommended not to do that. So they said if you do pigeons or whatever, just release them and that's it. But they had to be like, you have to get them from a local vendor, I guess. Because if you get some random ones and they release them out to your area, they'll actually get killed easy. They don't know where they are. They'll lose direction. Like,
how do you know that much?
Because I had a science teacher who actually owned owls.
Oh.
She rescued owls.
She had her falconry license?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was trying to get
like,
for
what are you
so
doing
long.
Here? I'm like, what are you doing here at my school teaching me science, basic, sex ed and like biology and all this shit? She's like, well, birds and humans are a lot alike. They could be predators and they could be vile and evil and they could be wise at the same time. I was like, you're just blowing my mind right now, lady.
She should have went with the cool. She should have went with the cool statistic and be like, you can also spin your head 360 degrees.
And puke on you like the what?
Well,
Exorcist.
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, ours it was kind of like far from tradition in the sense of like the style, because we did everything all black essentially, like even my dress, and then it was held at a haunted hotel also. So that was pretty cool.
Well, that's what I really like kind of enjoyed. Like when I saw your Facebook pictures, and I wasn't stalking, they were open for everyone to look at. So I was like, cool. But not only how happy you guys looked, but at the same time, like black dress, it's different than traditional. And traditional is like, I've never been a fan of sticking to traditions or ideologies or things. I'm like, do it what you feel like you're comfortable with, like have fun with it. Like if I'm going to get married, I want to be throwing jelly beans instead of rice. I want to be, adapting with my personality, not being fixed to a narrative that people want me to be.
Exactly.
And technically I want people wear black for like funerals and sad stuff. I could technically claim it as death of a bachelor for me.
Oh, shut up.
I mean, no, I always thought we should have black for weddings and like white for like funerals. I always thought it should be the opposite.
Kind of like color therapy, where it's like white brings out like positive stuff. Like if I ever do a podcast with someone that's like might be uneasy, might be like, I don't know if I want to do this, I'll wear a white shirt or I'll wear a bright color like a light blue. So it brings a sense of openness. And then if I want to talk serious or murder, I wear my flannel, my killer flannel, and I'll wear like a dark red. Yeah.
Nice.
Looking snazzy.
Yeah.
So do you have anything new with murders? Do you know anything, new stories you've heard or any cool?
I've heard a lot of true crime stuff, but nothing beats the peanut butter on the hands thing. That is the best thing I've ever heard, and I've used that example plenty of times.
that was the best for sure. It's hard to beat, I think.
You can get a sandwich, get 2 breads with peanut butter in between them, and go up to someone who is allergic to them and put in between them and say you're an idiot sandwich as they die.
So pull a Gordon Ramsay, but on a lethal level.
That's what you should do.
I like, but I also fear your brain, Jeffrey.
I'm just out there. It's crazy.
I haven't really found any interesting murders, but I've been really interested in why cults don't have better morals. It seems like with followers and everything, we're so obsessed with wanting people to agree with us. It's like, where is a cult with like good morals where it's like, hey, let's work on the economy. Let's build a self-sustaining ecosystem. You don't see those. You just see a bunch of people drinking Kool-Aid and wanting to chop their balls off. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I don't know why we're in this area.
Because fear controls everything. Eventually they'll follow you, and especially with happiness, but eventually they'll just overtake you and promise happiness for everyone. So you have to control them with fear. That's why like the government is so good at this. They're so anyway. Yeah, they should make a cult. We should make a cult for happiness. And just there's a movie like that where it's like there was a whole island, and everywhere on the island they're all happy and like, don't ever leave us. I forgot what it was called.
Is that called Epstein's?
Anyway.
I'm not sure. There's a Stepford Wives, but that was the men wanting to anyway. Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe my mind just goes out there.
I don't think it was an island. It was just like
my mind is an island.
I don't know. But that's a good idea. I know that people have probably tried to start like self-sustaining communities, but uh, I imagine it'd be hard to keep up with. You have to have a lot of people that are like-minded. And I think, like Jeff said, there has to be something kind of like to tie it all together and keep people on the same page. And that's really, really hard to do. You can have people with similar wants or aspirations, but if there's nothing kind of driving that or keeping it tied together, then it would probably fall apart.
Are you
easily.
telling me something like religion that can connect a bunch of people that probably don't like each other and shouldn't be in the same room?
I got another one for you. How about big old buff guys and like people who work out all the time?
Like,
I don't know offense, but have you seen those Instagram people who are like all into it so much and they're so conceited and they're like, I want you to look like me, do this, buy this, and then they want you to be so happy and positive too much to a certain degree.
Trying to sell their supplements and stuff.
Let me tell you about a little place called My Work. My work is at a gym. And let me tell you, I come across those people every single day. It's when you start to notice like how far someone. So this kind of leads into what we're going to do on your episode of things, but something we could talk about on here. Project Blue Book, the mind control, MK Ultra, all these other types of things. That's why I'm so fascinated with projects like this or stuff that happens to do with the government controlling something where it's like, you ever hear they say, wait till you're 21 to drink alcohol because it can hinder your brain's growth, or wait till you're older to smoke marijuana because it can hinder your brain's growth. When does the brain stop growing? Because we're constantly figuring out there's the new pathways in our brain. Everything is like an advertisement being brain or zapped into our heads or something. But there's all these pathways where we barely understand what the human mind is and how malleable it is, how accepting it is. And one of the biggest things you'll see with the most mental health issues is the weightlifting programs. The way of building your body up and hitting a prime point in your life. And then if you don't attend to that every single day, you lose it. And when you start to lose it, you start to develop body dysmorphia. When you start to develop body dysmorphia, you start looking towards supplements and drugs to be able to expand beyond what you were able to do before. But if you don't maintain it and keep using those drugs, your body starts going down again. It's this weird push and pull of conflicts where a lot of weightlifters you see have severe mental issues when it comes to looks, because you see yourself, if I gave you a six-pack or if I gave you this or that, you're like, oh my God, I never want this to go away, because you get all the compliments and then you start losing it. And next thing you know, it's this weird push and pull and this severe depression that rises. And it's like, this is my issue, is the fact that people can be controlled and manipulated by things they see in the media when it comes to the weightlifting or something. You see supplements, you see a six-pack, but then people deny MK Ultra like it was this fake pseudo history thing. And I'm like, no, it's real. It's a thing of the government finding a way to be able to use. That's my theory on maybe why a bunch of older generations aren't a fan of therapy. Because back in the day, it was this psycho killer thing.
Yeah. And I think it was very much so more experimental back then. They were always trying these different new methods and
procedures and everything. And
it
was different back then.
Yeah, it was way different. I think now there's more of an understanding, probably not fully, but there's more of an understanding of mental illness, and it's taken a lot more seriously instead of just, well, how can we totally shut this down and not even try to understand it?
Well, then again, there are people who can fix issues by creating issues. And sometimes you think it's someone else causing issues, but it's really you. And sometimes the way you cause issues for yourself is really caused by someone else. Just like the whole government conspiracy theory thing. Like, what if there's a little issue and you don't know how to handle it? So the government or some unknown force, some religion says, oh, I know how to fix it. Just follow me. And then you just get into that habit of always following them. And then if anything goes wrong, you break down and you end up like conforming to them. That's why Manson and all of them
It's the damn Flex Seal commercial where the guy promises he can stop the leak by taking that patch and slapping it
And
on
it's
the water
bam.
thing. You're looking for that person to fix your leak in the boat.
Yeah. Now, what if the government or whoever's in charge or whoever wants to control you causes a little bit of leak in your bucket on purpose, and when you're not looking, and when you look back, you're like, oh no, what do I do? And then he comes and fixes it for you.
Well,
I
it's
owe
like
you my life, man.
it's like the old saying of like, remember, every time you try and fill up the bucket, but every time you place it down and go and grab more water, the bucket's empty again. Somebody's dumping
Yeah.
out your water. You know, they have that metaphor of we all have our own little buckets, and you keep putting water in someone else's buckets, filling up theirs, and that person can't put their water in someone else's bucket, then they're just getting their bucket to overflow. You know, we're constantly
Mhm.
absorbing the problems of everyone around us and not being able to release our
Yeah.
own. And if we do, we release it on someone else, just causing the same chain.
Yeah.
More
That's why I
murder.
always found, psychology and like the study of the mind so fascinating, and especially with serial killers. Like I joke around a lot, but I always wonder like why Manson and like why, like they just found out that Zodiac killer, his coding in one of his things, like one of his messages, they finally found out about it. It was just from amateurs. They spent like millions of dollars on computers, algorithms, the smartest minds in the world. They had some amateurs break it.
Well, that was like his first message that he put out was decoded by, I think, some school teachers or something that sat down at the kitchen table and decided to decode it.
Yeah, but
how did we get here?
But they had like 20, like the smartest people look into it because they were so focused on that one thing, being like, I'm going to solve it, that mindset. And then there's some random people just did it.
Yeah.
So I think if you can control the mindset and which direction they go, you can control everything.
I'm waiting for technology to get to a point, like we already have the Neuralinks that get installed in your head. Well, how long until we can use that Neuralink like a transmitter to be able to find the exact point in your memory or in your brain of when you snapped, when you hit that break of where you lost compassion and the ability to be able to murder someone else? You know, there's that breaking point in every single person. Hopefully you never reach that point, but there's just something where the wires get disconnected. We can enhance in that moment and maybe rewire the brain to forget about that, like hypnosis.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like file, drag, drop, delete. Like I mentioned, like you said, like a computer. Like I was watching some guy play Cyberpunk, the new Cyberpunk game. Like, why not? You can just connect to something, control certain things, hack your mind, just delete that bad memory, or put in a memory. Someone hacks your mind and put in that bad memory and make you lose control. But yeah,
like our minds do it naturally. Like, you ever have a memory that you suppressed and somehow you remember it later and you're like, whoa, I can't believe that actually happened. Why did I forget about that? Like, you ever see like one of your family members naked or something? You're like, oh my God, it's my dad's dick. And then you just delete it out of your head.
Once. It only happened once.
Robbie, are you okay?
No. As a guy, I agree. It always happens to you once. You either you're sneaking through the window, he busts through your door because he's like, someone's breaking in. He's in like a weird robe and he like flashes open. He has a gun in his hand, but the only thing you notice is his, yeah. So and you're like, I'm so sorry. He's like, I'm sorry too. You just both walk away and just both go to sleep and never talk about it again.
I think there's one incident in everybody's life, doesn't have to be that exact scenario with the bathrobe, but there's an incident in your life that may have been super embarrassing that you suppressed for so long that you forgot about it, but it lies dormant inside of your head. So would the best way to be able to move forward is by getting maybe someone to hack into your brain and open up that doorway so you can confront it, or a better way to keep it locked up and figure out a way to erase it?
Well, most people say you're supposed to face your fears and fight it and get rid of it that way. But I mean, I don't know. I think most of these people who suffer from illnesses and mental illness and murder sprees they have dark fantasies from hiding it, and it slowly rips it apart out of you, and they have to take it out on someone else.
That's true. I think there's a point where you do need to lay everything out on the table for sure. Otherwise, that darkness can fester. But I don't know. That's difficult to say for sure. I think it could go really well and help someone move forward. And then other people, it might make things worse for them. So
yeah, and it depends on how people take it and how certain people, like they say some small problems for some people are huge for someone else who don't think it's that big of a deal. Like I don't know if that makes sense. Like
no, it's true.
your small issue is actually huge to someone else, and their huge issue is something small to you. Like you have a flat tire one day, and you're like, "Oh, this is the worst day ever," and they're like, "Oh, it's okay. I don't know how to change it. I'm already early," and they don't really care. But you have that hard time that morning, and it's like, why me? You start thinking like, why is this happening? Like,
yeah,
I guess it's how your mind processes it.
Are you willing to break down the walls and the fabric of your own reality to expose who you truly are?
Oh, yeah. That's what it should be.
If you did something and you forgot about it, something like a heinous crime, let's say like, I've been mentioning this show a lot, but it's called The Orville with Seth MacFarlane on Hulu. If you've ever seen it, they have a button that goes on your, they go to this planet. It's a lot like Earth, but when they go down there, everybody's wearing a button on their chest. And like, why is there an up arrow and a down arrow? Whatever you do in society gets put up on the internet. Everyone can vote if down or vote up. And if you hit, think 3 million downvotes, you get put on a trial where you have to go on a bunch of talk shows, and it's called your apology tour, where you have to apologize for whatever you got downvoted in. And then if you hit, I think 10 billion downloads, or 10 million downvotes, they correct you, which is they ECT you, they electroconvulsive therapy, and they fix your brain so you don't have any of those horrible, nasty things that is deemed wrong by society. So a dude was like joking around and humping a statue. It turned out to be like an actual, like very, very monumental historic thing on that planet. And they started downvoting him. And it's just, everyone sees a picture or a video, and that's what they base their judgment off of. And a lot of people were being mistrialed by a picture or something. That's what I'm saying is like, imagine if we get to a point where it's like that, and that's how our judicial system works, is that you're working through a system that is based on the eyes of what people see you through on social media, the eyes of what people see you through in a picture, rather than who you actually are. That's why I always mentioned taking salvia from that comedian story I had on Steve Cantwell, giving those to death row inmates. Psychedelic mushrooms, something that makes you find an inner reflection of yourself, makes you spend time and marinate with your issues. That's why solitary confinement was supposed to work. It was the idea that if you sat for so long with your thoughts that you would have a change in pace, and it might fix something that was wrong in your head. Well, imagine if you took a drug that made you look inside of yourself and come to grips with something you weren't ready to come to grips with.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why like some people think like the death penalty effect. Like I don't know if you know this, but they started doing death penalty stuff again. Like they started executing people again this last month of December. And they're trying to do a few more people right now. But a lot of people, and I don't want to get political, one side say we should not have death sentences. We should not be executing people at all because it's not our place to execute them. They should just be in jail and suffer for what they've done. But some people say they should die for what they have done. So it's always fascinating to me, and how they're just doing it again. It's warming up again. It's really interesting.
It's my issue with the judicial system where it's too much of a game. I'm not a fan of these games that get played. Like I talked about it before. I don't know if you guys have heard, but in a past episode, I talked about how I've been trying to go and get this medication that I needed. Well, my last and fifth court date was on November 5th, and I took it, and John Hopkins didn't show again. And the only reason that they weren't going to rule in my favor, or they weren't going to continue with the trial, is because it was John Hopkins. Imagine you do everything right and they won't do what the law says to do because of the fact of the power the other party has, the grasp it has, and how you are compared to that party. Eventually, the judge ruled in my favor, and then the insurance finally decided to get the medication going. But that took up almost a full year now to finally get to this point. there's a
Wow.
weird part where there's a game that gets played in our judicial system or anything that comes to even a life or death scenario. It's all about, I have to win when it comes to prosecution or defending. And this is why I get so obsessed with wrongful imprisonment and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think being told a story or being told something in a courtroom, it's all a fucking debate. It's all who's the best talker, who's the best. If you, no offense to Jeff, but if you put me and Jeff in a room and you gave us a pitch or something, Jeff had to defend it and I had to fight against it, who do you think's going to win? Whoever can talk really fast and who can ever hit this level with persuasive words. It's not fair. Same thing if you put me in a room with a used car salesman, I'd probably be fucked. It's just the idea of, this is why Neil deGrasse Tyson says, there are no debates. It's all who's a better persuasion or whoever's a better. I have the facts. I can have 100% of the facts. But if you're able to manipulate people's minds easier, then you win. And everything gets thrown out.
Exactly. And that's why I think a lot of the justice system, a lot of these big names in cases like Anthony.
Casey Anthony.
Her lawyer and stuff has actually been on like 5 or 6 other major cases. And I think as soon as you hear that name, they're like, oh, they're one of the best defenders ever. So they should have a right to do this. All they say is one little thing and they're like, oh, that works. We're like, we have all this proof that, she did this to her kid, but they went with him because of the way, like you said, the way he persuaded them. And all you have to say is without reasonable doubt. And she got away.
Yeah.
You have 100% proof that she did it. Well, no one have 100%. That's all that matters. And it blows my mind how that's how our justice system works.
Yeah.
How it's pretty much you have money or power, you can get away with anything.
With our vice president, who's our vice president right now? I forgot what her name is.
Mike Pence.
There's somebody in office right now that is like tried to wrongly convict a bunch of people, and somehow we just forgot about that.
The new vice president?
Yeah.
Kamala Harris?
Yeah.
Kamala?
She was found out that she wrongfully tried to convict a bunch of people and just didn't want to lose, even though she knew she was wrong. But nobody's talking about that because she's now the vice president. It's like, as an issue when it's a game, maybe instead of it picking Democrat or Republican, you just vote 2 presidents. Let's have 2 people that are going to have different opposing views and keep fighting. And then we have a Senate or an overall House vote on it. Okay. He doesn't want to pass this bill. He does want to pass this bill. Okay. Let's pick sides here. The problem is somebody can influence that decision. The problem is somebody can influence something like that. Same thing when someone murders somebody. You can influence that decision. You can manipulate this person who might be at a weak point in their life and turn them into this evil thing that they're not. That's when it comes to this overall stability of who you are as a person. When you look inside of yourself, there are moments where I see someone freak out or I see somebody hurt somebody and I want to defend. I want to fight. I want to hurt that person. But that seemed wrong on the basis of morality, of decisions, of you can't do that. Killing somebody who's trying to kill somebody isn't right at all. It's still deemed wrong in the eyes of society, even though some of us might be like, well, I mean, if they're protecting themselves, doesn't matter, still killing technically. But in the idea of war, nobody ever looks at that as a wrong thing. You're fighting for your country. It's seen as brave and heroic, but you're killing a whole nother person.
Yeah. And it's hard because that person might not be there 100% willingly, or maybe they are, but on either side, that person doesn't matter which side they're on. They believe that they're the good guy.
Everyone's the bad guy. Everyone's the good guy.
Yeah. So that is definitely hard. That's why I don't take a stance when it comes to like the death penalty or things like that, because I have a heart for people. And maybe that person did something extraordinarily evil, but I also don't know if it's right to give humans who make errors constantly the power and the ability to make that decision. It's really hard for me to wrap my head around that, but I don't think that I can say I'm for or against it, because I can't. When you hear about someone who, slaughtered their entire family, or There's been a few stories in the news, like there was one where this father decapitated both his daughters. So if someone can look in the face of people that he's supposed to be their caretaker, their protector, their father,
Yeah.
and decapitate them, or the guy who stuffed his kids down that water tank.
Yeah.
I don't remember his name, Chris Watts. It's pure evil, but still, are we judge, jury, God? Do we play that role of, yeah, you're gonna die now?
I think
That's
the
hard.
idea is trying to fix, maybe if you look at somebody that murders a bunch of people and doesn't care and doesn't apologize, doesn't feel any remorse, and there's just something broken about him, it seems unfixable. It's just a way of taking that, I guess, portion of the population out, taking out that horrible person that is never going to be fixed. That's what the whole death penalty idea is. But with everything that we haven't tried every single method. We haven't tried everything. I don't think brainwashing can work because it's not right to, even if a person's that messed up. You can't just fix a person's narrative to your own. It doesn't make sense. That's just inhumane. It's against human rights. But it's a tricky road. Maybe we just put them on a cruise ship and just ship them off somewhere. I don't know. Leave them on an island.
Well, we'll be like the British and send them all to Australia.
That's a good
Or
point.
just like Hunger Games it, put them in an arena and tell them to fight to the death. And
that's what I thought we should do.
They're all killers anyway. That's all they want to do. Then they can just kill each other.
Like
maybe you do what they did in Repo Man at the ending, where they hit the dude in the head and he thought he got out, and they put him in a fake reality or fake inside of his head thing, just like that movie with Tom Cruise, where all those people are like stuck in their own little worlds.
I don't watch Tom Cruise.
I don't know what. Yeah,
you're not missing much, but I'm just saying, if you look at maybe creating an alternative reality in their heads, like making them, instead of killing them, putting them in like a sleep chamber or sleep something and to serve a sentence, but they have to live in this reality that they can never break out, or something out of like prison or something. But you're able to focus and maybe given the tools to make your life better, like kind of like a second chance in a way. Like if you were going to repeat your life over again, you're in this alternate reality, something's hooked up to your head, you're in a sleep chamber in real life, but in your dream, you're experiencing forgiveness. You're experiencing a second chance. What are you going to do with that second chance? And if they do it the right way, then they get released. But if they do it the wrong way, then that's it.
But then there's also those people who go through the prison system and exhibit like ideal prison what is it called?
Lifestyle.
Or they get off on a good behavior, and then they go out and they commit a crime like the next day. So they can manipulate people into believing that they've been rehabilitated, but in reality they were just playing the game.
But that's the best part of the system, is that it would be able to find that fakeness to it.
That'd be good.
It's a good movie pitch.
Like you get a zap every time you're like being ingenuine or something.
You get that thought, you get zapped. Or like, what if they've released him, but it's really like that movie with Jim Carrey, where there's everyone just watching him, and as soon as he snaps or does something illegal, they're like, oh, you gotta go back in.
The Truman Show.
The Truman Show. Have a Truman Show for each prisoner for like after they get out for like a month. Just watch them in this little world and just see how they act.
It's kind of like the movie Game Over, where they put the inmates in have a person controlling them like in a video game, and then they have to fight.
I like that movie. That's what I was also thinking about too. So that's what they should do. Like have a test run. Like, all right, you're released, and like that's it. Yeah, just release, and then watch what they do for like a month. Like better.
Or that one movie with Daniel Radcliffe where he has the guns.
Guns Akimbo.
Yeah. So all of them are just under surveillance 24/7.
I have those slippers.
Well, okay, didn't want to admit that on recording. Okay. But the fact that
it's out there now.
Out of all the research you guys have done, what would you say, I guess, would be the biggest issue? Not maybe with the person or with the crimes they committed. Do you see that a lot of people, like in their perspective that they're actually justified in their perspective, not in the actual like reality, like of what they kind of convince themselves. Because I can convince myself to give myself a panic attack. I convinced myself that fishing was cool. You know what I mean? Like I would just be like, instead of looking at it like, well, fishing, it's just sitting there waiting to catch a fish. Or is it that you're casting a line out to a whole parallel universe where fucking sea creatures live? That makes it sound so much cooler. So maybe it's their perspective that they warped in their head. And that's the craziness of the human mind.
Well, yeah, like when you catch a fish, imagine like you're being God and you pull up the fish and you eat him, cook him, eat whatever, kill him.
Well, then you got a God complex.
Thinking the God complex. And what if some God above you is tormenting you and that's why you're having a bad life? They're trying to catch you with a fish hook.
Maybe we just ship all the murderers off to a whole nother planet.
Mars. Elon Musk said he wants to go there soon and just live there. Make another country out there.
They'd be the good little fishies, I guess. To
have them work on the mines out there, make roads and whatever. And I don't like this. I quit. All right, get out. What do you mean get out?
Into space.
Yeah, launch them out. Get outside the Mars.
Well, that's the thing is we stopped exiling people. We stopped sending them off. Back in the day, that used to be a thing is you can't live in this tribe anymore. You have to be exiled or you'll be killed. So if you exile people, maybe if we just bring that back, we just ship them to another planet. You got to go live on the moon. And then every time when we start developing colonies on other planets, you fly by the moon, be like, don't go there. That's the prisoner's planet. It's the murderer's
That's
planet.
a new Australia.
Who knows? Maybe it'll come to that point. But to answer your question, I think the Green River Killer, he really thought that he was doing the Lord's work because he murdered sex workers. And he was taught in his life that sex workers were evil, that women were essentially evil as well. So he thought that he was cleaning up the streets, but he was also getting his rocks off in the meantime. So he didn't hate them that much. But
I always thought the one with nickname Gurkaka, the one in Indiana.
Oh, Gertrude.
She was a mom who had kids, and they were watching these two girls, and they would just abuse them and treat them bad, and eventually treat one of the daughters so bad that she ended up dying. And she's like, "Oh, this, whatever. I didn't do anything." Like the way she just treated him,
she was justified.
The way she just treated this little girl with disrespect, and she would like, I don't want to go too much into it, but she's like, "You're a dirty little whore and stuff." And like, you're a bad individual.
She thought she was punished. It was justified punishment. Like she was steering her, or going to steer her in the right direction or save her from herself. Yeah. But
that's what I think is wrong, is whenever you take it out on a child, in a way, that's what's my worst fear, is someone taking it out on a child. Because they had no understanding of anything really. Most killers, they go after older people, prostitutes, sex workers. They go after certain individuals, but if you go after a child, it's different for me. That's why I thought it was the worst for me.
Yeah, she's terrible.
I had someone comment something that was really strange to me on one of my videos, and he said the amount of people you talk to and the information that you soak up just through osmosis, just through contact of people, has to be so immense. And I've been thinking about it, like imagine if everyone was talking to the amount of people that I talk to. How far would people be able to progress, I say, as like in their mind, of their perspectives, if you weren't confined to something? Like I've had that message. I've had another one just yesterday where someone was like, I would love to debate you on some of these topics. I'm like, they're just conversation. There's where you lost already. Is you want to turn it into a debate. You think that your way is 100% and there's no other way, refusing that. And I think that's wrong, even when it comes to some things on murder too. Some people have a thing in their head that they built up that is 100% the truth to them. And it might not be. But if you sit there and tell them they're wrong, it's never going to change them. If I sit there and tell you, Jeff, you say 2 + 2 is 4. I sit there and say, you're wrong. You go, no, it's not. Because you think that's what the answer is. But it could be wrong. Who knows? But if I sit there and tell you you're wrong and I sit there and insult you, you're never going to change your perspective on things, and you're never going to be open up to another ideology or another idea. Being confined to one ideology is the dumbest thing in the world.
That's exactly perfect.
Yeah.
My math teacher actually taught me this. He's like, what plus what equals 4? He asked the class chat in general. Everyone's like, oh, 2 plus 2. Everyone said 2 plus 2 plus. I said 1 plus 3. And they're like, no, it's not. And they got mad at me for it. Half the class got mad at me and said I was an idiot. And then my teacher's like, why is he an idiot?
Phrased it 1 plus 3. You got to phrase it 3 plus 1.
Or whatever. Yeah. But then my teacher's like, technically I asked what plus what. So technically all you guys are right and all you guys are wrong. And ever since that moment, I was like, whoa, that's really cool. My math teacher taught me something about, the soul and how you interpret things, how you take things. What plus what equals the outcome. So when someone says, this is the fact, I'll be like, all right, what plus what equals that fact in my eyes? So that's the way I look at things. It's like, I murdered this person because I did this for a higher being. Well, what, you were raised by someone who abused you and someone who was really religious. So maybe that will cause you to do this. And that's why you're messed up in that way.
It boils down to one of the biggest ideologies and kind of one I have an issue with is religion. How many times in the books or anything in religion, God said to kill your son or kill your brother? And you're like, oh, and then he told me not to. Don't do that. Don't hit that guy with the brick. I was just testing your faith. What the hell? Why does that one have the biggest out hole? It's the same thing when it comes to like the Big Bang Theory. We don't know how it was created, and that's what everyone's point is against the Big Bang Theory and against science is, well, explain the Big Bang. Well, we can't explain it. Okay, then there is a God. It's like everyone's got their freaking pole that they die on. It's like, I'm not saying religion isn't needed. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm open to all terms of life. I got my ordained minister's license under the United Church of Bacon. But being confined to one way of thinking is the dumbest thing in the world. You have to be open to everything because you're neglecting the awesome opportunity of having a conversation and understanding another person's thoughts and views. You're basically, I look at it like this. Every person I talk to, I'm grabbing you and I'm soaking up your brain. I'm soaking your thoughts up. I'm getting everything, the way you think, the way you feel, the way you express yourself, and I'm learning. That all gets stored somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. And I get that too. I think it's nice. You should also have like core values. And I think it's beautiful to be devoted to what you believe in. But whenever people start to put those walls up and they refuse to grow and learn and know that it's okay if other people believe differently, I think that's where it's like,
Yeah. My pastor, when I went to church at a younger age, he actually had a bachelor's degree in scientific method and with science. And I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, why not? I'm like, you believe in God, but you have a science degree? He's like, why not? I'm like, and then some people in my class with me are like, well, who made the Big Bang? He's like, why didn't God make it? And so like, oh, that makes sense kind of. And then they started asking him all these questions. He's like, you're coming at it from one view and you want me to explain it as this view, but it's really in the middle. It could be both. It could be nothing. It could be everything. It could be nothing. We all have different views and we should all look at it the same way. You should ask me these questions as a Christian or as, religious person. You should ask these questions openly and not doubt anything, but you should never doubt everything fully. The way he explained that to me, it was really interesting too. I had a lot of wise people growing up, and I started listening to them now, like, as 28-year-old, I finally understand what they mean for half the stuff they mean.
It's funny how that works. You can hear something as a young kid and not fully understand it until you're like way older.
Yeah. This guy who has a science degree, who's all into science, became a pastor. And then my science and teacher was an owl person with falconry. And then I have a math teacher teaching me all this stuff. I'm like,
I don't trust your judgment on wise people, because you called me wise once, and I think that's an irrelevant statement.
Well, you're wise because you're willing to listen. most wise people listen before they speak.
Now you're
And
hitting
most
me
people, when
with
they do
fortune
speak-
cookie language, and I don't like that.
Oh, okay.
Well,
There is a problem though, is that when you say there's a definitive answer, nobody really knows. People always want to know if there's an afterlife, but they don't know for sure. I've heard some people who've been to the other side, and I've heard some people that say there is nothing at all. Who's to say? I think that the issue is we are all grasping at a reality where we all seem like we have a piece to a puzzle, and we're all trying to make them fit and saying that this piece is the puzzle. This is what finishes it. Who's to say all our pieces don't go together and hit onto one giant core thing? Or we're all not even on the board. We all got different puzzle pieces to a puzzle that isn't ours. We're all just
We're on the different table.
Yeah.
We could be artwork on a wall facing away from each other. That's why we can't see eye to eye.
It could
I
be
see
like
some
this,
color in you, but you don't see color in me.
it could be like the scene from Men in Black where they zoom out from the galaxy and the solar system, and then it's a bunch of us in marbles and an alien's rolling us around and playing with them.
Or we're just a sim in a simulation being
Sims.
controlled by a 12-year-old that's in some other galaxy far, far away.
You ever
Like a bird.
you ever think you're in a coma sometimes?
Yes. Or I thought driving down the road, did I really die 30 minutes ago and I'm just driving as a ghost?
That's
How'd
what
I
I'm
get here?
saying. I've had so many near-death
Yes.
experiences as a kid where I'm like, did I make it out of that? Or is this just my brain slowly coming to the grasp that I'm not here anymore?
I've had those thoughts for sure. Like I've been ignored enough in my life too that I'm like, I'm not even here. I'm just a ghost. I died.
You got to be careful because that's an actual medical thing where people believe they're a ghost.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I actually had a past guest and a kind of a close friend to me. He just told me the other day he has a type of personality disorder where he feels like he's not actually here. Like
wow.
Yeah, that's where I'm saying is that there's something that happens in the brain. Like, how does a wire cross like that? Like, how does someone even figure it out? And how do you deal with that? It's like where my compassion has expanded with like the medical stuff I've been dealing with is an understanding invisible illnesses. Just because you don't have a missing arm doesn't mean you're not suffering from something every single day. You know, I think
exactly.
Not just in conversation, but having a compassion. Even though I get pissed off as much as the next guy, I try my hardest to understand, and I try my hardest to leave a sense. You look like you have to fart, Jeff.
No, I'm just getting comfortable. Ugh.
Probably does.
Sorry, there we go. Better, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
But it's a thing. You gotta understand that there are no definitive answers in life. Every decision that you make, you might have an idea of where it might go, but there's no definitive of that's how it's going to turn out. So you need to just rock around for the ride and enjoy the bumps that come, enjoy the other influences that hit in, and make sure they don't change your perception on life, but be open to their idea.
Yeah. And to piggyback off of that, it kind of like, it's a reminder to be compassionate towards your fellow human because you never know what they're going through. You have no idea. Like my mom has fibromyalgia. And so for her, it's really hard some days for her to do the walking around the grocery store or whatever. So if you see somebody in one of those carts that doesn't look like they have a broken leg, it's so easy to be like, oh, wow, they're just really lazy. But you truly have no idea. And in any situation, you just never know what people are going through. So I think that's what we need more of today is just compassion. And I know it's hard because everybody's going through stuff, especially right now, but we still got to look out for one another.
We need more people that would buy a taquito on the roller for a friend or just a random stranger.
Exactly. Yeah. Random stranger. Or the ghost that's sitting next to you.
You see him?
Don't joke around like
that.
Other
way, dude. Other way.
There's a filter where I could see ghosts on my phone. I would buy that filter just so I could understand if there's any ghosts teabagging me in the area. Because I feel like sometimes you ever just sit there and be like, is somebody's nuts on my head right now? And you're like looking around.
Well, every time you yawn, a ghost sticks his stick in your mouth.
Don't put that thought in my head.
You're welcome.
I'm never yawning.
That's why you yawn with your mouth shut. And when you talk, you cover your mouth. So
that's why I do like this. No, I'm like, get away, ghost.
Either that or you're sneezing. People are like, why are you sneezing all the time? I'm like, I'm not.
Getting the ghost stick away.
That'd be an awkward Thanksgiving.
Oh gosh. No, I was in the bathroom at work the other day and I swear someone got into the stall next to me. Maybe it's because I had my headphones on and I wasn't fully paying attention. But after I walked out, there was nobody else in the bathroom at all. But I swear somebody walked in and went to the stall next to me. So I don't know.
Well, I
take back everything I've ever said. Murder is okay if somebody picks the stall right beside you.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
But yeah, murder is probably her favorite thing. My favorite thing is like urban legends and myths and stuff.
That makes it sound so bad. Murder's my favorite thing.
I always like the fascination of people like believing in Bigfoot and like aliens and stuff. It's like people are like, how can you believe in it? And people are like, how can you not believe in it? And I was just like, all right, carry on, like express yourself.
So
most people like
So what you say to those people that tell you that Bigfoot's not real, I want you to say to them that how do you explain the fact that in North America and then also in the Tibetan mountains that there were the same accounts of a giant species of ape with no cell phones or technology to be able to communicate, that they both had the exact same depictions of what Bigfoot or a race of this giant ape looks like? And if they say it could have been a coincidence, I want you to say no, because Bigfoot is interdimensional. And they say, why is that? Peyote, bro. You take who's to say that Bigfoot isn't a spirit guide or Bigfoot isn't some type of, I don't know, being or some type of thing that you see when you're tripping on psychedelic mushrooms or something. I mean, it makes sense. You tear down the walls of reality, and people who, do Burning Man and stuff, those types of LSD acid trips, they all trip on like the same thing. It's why when you trip or do drugs like that, if you do it with a friend, you guys experience almost the exact same trip. So maybe that's what it is. He's a spirit guide or something. Or we go back to my original theory. Just give salvia to death row inmates and watch their life change. If you can live 50 lifetimes in a matter of 30 seconds by taking a drug, then you should take that and see. It's whatever. That's how we fix convicted felons. We fix them with drugs.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think it was Oregon. They just made it where
like meth and cocaine
and all mushrooms were all legal, and everyone's like freaking out. I know so many people are freaking out about it. I'm like, why are you getting mad?
Legal? I don't know. It was like all the hard drugs.
The way they described it, I actually looked at an article.
Bath
salts. Yeah, everyone gets bath salts. You get it. Like Oprah, you get some. You get some.
If they were more productive with the way they use it, maybe like if you did bath salts and then you were like building sheds, you could lift them up without a crane. It would make more sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way Oregon did it though, they have a process. So if you are on heroin, they give you mushrooms or give you weed to go off of that. So they want to make a tier system. That way you have a way to get off the harder stuff and eventually get into the normal stuff like mushrooms and stuff.
They had a synthetic drug for heroin that they used to use, and it actually was way worse.
Yeah. Stick with the good.
But I think the inmate thing would be good if it was like on a volunteer basis, just so we don't go back to the days where they were doing like the electroshock therapy on people who were just guinea pigs.
Yeah.
If you just killed a whole school of kids and I said, hey, instead of spending your whole entire life, like two life sentences in prison, if I give you this salvia and this will change your whole perspective on everything, and then you can get out afterwards, would you do it? You'd be like, hell yeah. And then you take the salvia, 20 times salvia to be exact, and you would spend probably 15 years in a trip that only lasts a minute and a half. And then you'd be like, oh, I lived a whole nother life. And then you would just be so shocked about what you just saw that you would want to be a different person.
And like, I want to make a school for the kids. And then I was like freaking out. And it's like, yeah, it could happen.
Yeah.
You never know with salvia and stuff. Salvia is
true.
Pretty crazy.
I like watching the videos of people smoking it and then like freaking out for a minute, and then they just come to reality and they're like, like they're just freaked out, like they just went to a whole nother planet. Like my cousin has like stories of being a 65-year-old Chinese man who had a heart attack in front of his grandkids, and he started crying telling me that story. And I was like, yo, you actually experienced something that seemed like that? And he goes, dude, it was the saddest thing. Like I was in this trip for like 40 something years. But then you get screwed. And the reason why I say you get screwed is I've heard stories of someone that smoked salvia and then he spent 20 years as paint on a barn. How fucking horrible. That's like a terrible dream you can never wake up from.
Oof.
Well,
yeah.
Well, if they're, the prison system, I think they would rather do that than, get executed, I think.
Potentially.
I had a dream where I just sat and rode the metro bus the whole fucking time. I just sat there like watching out the window. It was the most boring dream compared to my other dreams. So I was like, I would hate to be, that would be me taking salvia. I'd be stuck as like the fiberglass on a jet ski. And that would be my whole trip for 80 years.
I don't know. Maybe it would be a break from stress of life. Who knows?
What if someone is on salvia right now and they're you? And they're me.
That's what someone said salvia might be like for some people. Imagine all those murderers and all those people that do like high-speed pursuits and stuff. Maybe they think they're in a trip.
Yeah, and they just go crazy.
Potentially.
That's why they murder people.
Well, that's probably what happened with all the Manson people. They were so messed up on all the drugs that they were taking that they had no perception of like what reality, what realm they were in. They weren't grounded enough to make logical decisions.
And what if the government put it in the air and everyone's breathing it? That's why everyone's going crazy.
And you would sit there and think, what happens if I just end this trip and it would bring me back into reality, or would it kill you?
That's why you have or what if you have them like little trips and you have deja vus and you go back to where you had it last?
My brain hurts.
I don't know.
These are perfect movie scenarios we need to be writing down.
I know.
You have such good ideas. This is awesome.
So we just need a few good actors. Johnny Depp.
The best movie pitch I've ever had was I was staring in a mirror at the gym. Everything that basically happens in my life happens at a gym. But I was staring at a mirror and I was looking at myself and I was like, those, you get those thoughts, those things that go in your head, like this, that, this, and that. Like it's kind of like a second voice. I don't know if you guys have that. I do. But I was like, imagine if that was the voice was a reflection in the mirror. So when you're looking at yourself, it's another person looking at you going, just do it. And that person over there. And like just a random thing. I don't think that. I'm just saying a random thing. And you turn out that like you have multiple personalities is what the doctors diagnose you with. But then later you find out that it was actually your twin brother that you absorbed in the womb and he's a tumor in your head where it's another actual person. Isn't that fucking intense as a movie?
Oh, that would be extremely intense.
That actually sounds.
You could do a lot. You could do a lot with that. I think you could go a lot of different directions.
That kind of sounds familiar, man.
Does it?
Just Google it. I bet you it's
Mirrors. Maybe.
Starring Kiefer Sutherland.
Well, I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's like a horror one. So yours is better. That was more like a horror related one, but
maybe we should just start a movie where it's like, let's try and start a cult on a cruise ship.
Ooh, like Disneyland cruise, Disney cruise,
Cults of the Sea.
Everyone's happy. If you're not happy, we'll make you happy.
Cults of the Caribbean.
Cults of the That's perfect name for the movie. Got like an off-brand Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
A lot of hot guys everywhere. Like what?
There's no shuffleboard on this poop deck. Well, a very special thank you to both of you for joining me on this episode today. And also congratulations again for the wedding and all. I'm surprised I didn't officiate or you didn't get OJ to at least sing some karaoke, but sure. Sorry. It was an amazing turnout. But we want to promote where people can find you at.
Yeah, we have our podcast out pretty much everywhere. Wherever you're listening to, Robbie, you probably can find us there too. It's the United States of Horror. And then if you want to find us on social media, we're most active on our Instagram, and that's at United States of Horror. So,
and we're on Facebook.
And Facebook. You can find us pretty much anywhere. So, United States of Horror.
I actually might cry because you actually said my name. It's the first time in 600 and something episodes that someone has actually said my name. Thank you very much. I feel like a person.
Oh, You are a person. You deserve to feel special.
I deserve 20 times salvia.
Or about to say we're all on salvia right now, so we don't know who we really are.
I know.
Who's to say what's real?